Okay, I think we're good now. I don't know why it took like 10 seconds for it to kick in. Hey there, everybody. Hold on, I gotta switch here real quick. Looks like we're doing okay though. I gotta turn off night mode real quick. Maybe not. Hold on. All right, hanging with me just a few more seconds here, guys. I'm gonna pop out my chat as always, so I don't have to sit here and watch myself stream. Yeah, even after I set it to the correct audio device, it literally like played nothing, or it had no sound for like 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden it just popped in. Like I was trying to figure it out, and then all of a sudden I noticed that the sound, my little sound or volume bar was moving, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. It was kind of weird to me. But I'm having some weird computer issues, so I might need to reinstall my operating system. I'm not really sure at this point. Either that or I need to severely upgrade my computer. Probably both, I think, at this point. But I wanted to hop on and let you guys know what was going on. The streams have not ended. We are not having any real issues. I did need to take another break. There has been some difficulties going on in the background, and I wanted to explain some of that and let you guys know exactly what was going on, so you guys aren't worried about the streams or the new podcast that's happening. None of that's ending. I do have plans to continue to do it on a weekly basis at the very least, and hopefully, again, like I described many times before, to do it on just do it multiple times a week, and then possibly even on different platforms. I was planning to do this sometime, I can't remember the exact timing. I'm trying to remember when I saw the video, and I'll get into that in just a second. But I was intending on coming back a lot earlier. And I don't know if any of you who follow YouTube on a regular basis and follow the trending lists, there was a video put out recently by a YouTuber known as Markiplier, in which he described the situation that was going on YouTube, where when people were commenting a lot on YouTube live streams, their channels were getting literally deleted and banned. So not just your ability to comment, but your ability to log in to YouTube and even to Google at all. And since then, that problem has been essentially fixed. But for a while, anybody who was highly active on a live stream and put too many comments was actually having issues with YouTube, assuming that their account was a spam account, and then banning their accounts. And like I said, not only on YouTube, but their Google accounts in general. And so I decided to hold off for a little while longer until at least I got some sort of confirmation that there wasn't going to be any of you guys that were being negatively punished for essentially participating in the live streams. And so that was my worst nightmare scenario, where you guys would have your personal accounts affected and possibly even deleted due to just being a part of my live stream. And so I didn't want to take a chance, and so I held off. And that's a lot of the reason, other than, again, with 539 Productions, I've been working on the channel for a while now, and a lot of you know that, and I've been trying to include new things and try new ideas and make it more of an adventure travel series like I always wanted it to be. And so, I mean, obviously that's still ongoing. But welcome to the live stream. Welcome Emmy. Welcome Jade. Hi there, Misty. Amalia, welcome. Good to have you here. Thanks for letting me know about the sound. I appreciate that. I don't know what the problem we were having. Hey there, Jenny. Welcome to the live stream. Good to have you. Yeah, I don't know what the problem was with the sound. It was just like there was a delay in the audio device kicking in, which is probably something to do with my computer and something I need to look into and fix. But yeah, that's going to be something for the future. I don't have a heck of a lot of time right now to just completely back up everything and reinstall the entire operating system. I'm going to try to do that hopefully in the next few weeks or so, but I figured I'd at least try to jump on here and do a live stream before that happens. I didn't really want to lose everything. Not that I'm going to lose everything, but like have to relog into every account that I have. Just do a lot of stuff in the background, so... Yeah, well, essentially what they were saying was it was basically the algorithm gone wild is kind of how they described it. Somebody actually did come out from the team that controls that portion of YouTube algorithm control who worked on developing that, and they said essentially that it was intended to prevent spamming, which is completely understandable and something that YouTube is trying to work on so that streams like this are enjoyable and so that people don't just get to randomly come in streams and send hundreds and hundreds of spam messages about anything from sales to politics to whatever it might be that has nothing to do with the actual stream but more to do with what they want to interject into the stream. And so they basically said it was that, and they actually admitted that they screwed up pretty royally. And yeah, and for a while, a few people too were actually fighting it, and their accounts were restored and then rebanned. And so there was some tug of war on the back end where they essentially told, from what I assume at least, they told some of their employees that were doing these in-person reviews of the accounts that they needed to take a closer look at things and that they weren't just necessarily supposed to verify the number of messages that people were sending, but rather the types of messages. Hey there, John. Welcome to the live stream. Thanks for joining us. Hot Topics, thanks for joining us. Glad to have you here. Yeah, it's been a while. I really wanted to be back sooner, but again, not at the risk of all of you guys. I didn't want to risk your accounts. That's a lot of stress to go through. Especially, I know I'm probably not the only one that a lot of you watch, and so to sort of screw up all of your subscriptions, all of your likes, and even some of you that make your own videos, some of the people that were getting banned were noticing that their videos were actually deleted. And while this was confirmed by YouTube to not be a permanent problem, and that the videos would be restored, I still did not want to take that risk, so I decided to hold off for a little while longer. Yeah, and they really did admit it, Emmy. This time they came out and made a few blog posts. I'm not sure exactly where. I saw some screenshots from Markiplier where they pretty much admitted, we really screwed up. None of these channels should have got banned to begin with, and when they reported these bans to YouTube, they should have been reinstated, and for whatever reason they were not. But a lot of people now are noticing that their accounts have been reinstated, and so it looks like everything is now in the clear. So, I'm kind of a firm believer that, if somebody comes out and admits that they screwed up, that's cool. It sucks, that we all have to deal with it. And it kind of sucked that, I wasn't able to, not that I wasn't able to, but realistically not really able to go online without, again, risking your guys' accounts, not knowing exactly what the line was, because they do tell that they screwed up, or do say that they screwed up, but of course they don't really tell you the exact numbers that somebody has to cross, the exact line in the sand that people have to cross in order to get that ban. And so it just wasn't worth it to me to sort of go out there, go live, and take that risk. So I decided not to, and so here we are today. Too far in the future, as far as I'm concerned. I didn't, again, wanted to do this, but yeah, so. Well, Markiplier is a massive account, and not the only account that got, not the only account that was having these issues where people that were watching the live streams were having these issues. So I'm assuming it was in the thousands, at the very least. Hey there, Shauna. Welcome to the live stream. So yeah, he was, I think, just the first person to notice it. Again, I didn't see any other viral videos, any other trending videos where people were saying that they had this particular issue with their stream. But I think the way that the Markiplier account is, or not account, but his channel is structured and his team of people that are working, they very quickly realized that there was a problem going on. And so that's where I guess YouTube in general, maybe not in general, and maybe there had been some previous reports that hadn't been talked about, but where YouTube, at least in the audience of people, figured out that there was this big issue going on. So yeah, again, it's just one of those things where the algorithm went out of control and decided to enact a lot of punishments on people that didn't deserve those punishments. In Markiplier's case, he was having people voting on different things that were going to happen on his channel. I think he has somewhere in the millions, I think around 5 million subscribers, so obviously it would have been a huge issue for somebody like him. However, it was not only affecting his account, but anybody who had an account that was live streaming and were noticing a heavy influx of comments, and even me not being that big, especially on the second channel. I knew that, I have a lot of dedicated supporters and a lot of people that love to come on and talk and have conversations and write lots of messages. And so I thought that if there's any risk whatsoever that one of those people would be negatively affected by my streams, I decided that it would not be worth it to me to go live just to benefit myself. So, that's that. Yeah, the way I understood it is that it didn't really matter what you were doing, whether it was emojis or whether it was comments. There was just a certain undescribed number of comments that if you were commenting this specific number, which they, again, did not divulge, but this specific number of comments in this specific number of time, again, which they did not divulge, that your account would be banned as a spam account. So yeah, it didn't really matter what you were messaging, whether it was just simply a smiley face or whether you were actually legitimately just having a conversation. But they were, unfortunately, not they, I shouldn't say they, but the algorithm was banning accounts. And then when you fought it, when you appealed the ban and requested a actual physical person to review the account, a lot of them were only looking at the numbers of messages, and when they saw the numbers of messages within a specific time, they were saying, well, that still breaks our rules. And what YouTube ended up coming out and saying was, no, it really depends on what the type of messages are. If you're just legitimately being a part of the conversation, or you're legitimately just being or posting emojis, for whatever reason it may be, that's not considered spam, and so they sort of took a back step. Yeah, there's been, a lot of problems in general. I still have monetization problems. A lot of my videos are demonetized, and then I have to remonetize them. Thankfully, I have enough subscribers now that I can just click the button, and usually within a few minutes, a person will take a look at the video and see if it's actually breaking any of the rules, which to the best of my knowledge, I think I've only had one where they came back and said, no, we fully believe that this video is not advertiser friendly. And again, it's multiple different, well, probably hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people actually doing these reviews. And so you are kind of dependent on the person, the individual person who does the review. And so I have had one video. I can't remember what it actually was. It wasn't legit. The video didn't actually break any of the terms of service, but at the same time, for whatever reason, the person on the other end did decide. I probably could have it reviewed again at some point. I think there's a time frame you can wait. It's like, I don't know the time frame. I don't want to guess, but at a certain time, I know you can have somebody look again. So, yeah, again, it's unfortunate. It sucks to not be able to go on and feel like I can actually do the work that I want to do and create content for you guys that hopefully you want to watch and participate in. But again, I'm not willing to do that at the expense of people's accounts, and definitely don't want, especially when it's your entire Google account, whether it's your emails that you might lose, or your music that you might lose, or whatever. If you can't log into your account, period, any purchases you've made on your Google account, you wouldn't have access to anything that you haven't previously downloaded to your private PC. There's so much at stake there, and so I just didn't want to risk that. So, many apologies. Like I said, on the other side of that, obviously, 539 has been going through a bit of a transitional phase right now. As I've told you guys, and I know that a lot of you here are sort of my core group of supporters and people that have been around for quite a while. And as I've always said on this second channel, 539 is not a graveyard tour channel. It's not intended to be that. It is an adventure travel series that goes around to many different types of locations, including historical locations, which is part of the graveyard experience. Obviously, that is more about the history than the actual graves, and it's not supposed to be necessarily about death or anything like that. And also is a part of the sort of hidden and back road locations, that you can find going out on the little country back roads in the middle of the Midwest or in any part of the United States where you aren't, hitting the main areas, the cities, the things like that. And you're going out where not a lot of people go, not a lot of people live, and just seeing what's out there, what's hidden on these roads, what's like the abandoned road I found the other day where there was a graveyard way down on the other end of it, things like that. It's not necessarily about just the graveyard, but about the experience in general, about the travel. And yeah, it is a travel series. And so obviously, I've been going through sort of like I said, a transitional phase where I'm trying to make that more apparent. I've gotten a few complaints recently. Some people were saying, you're not going down the rows, you're not reading all the names and all the dates off, and so I unsubscribed. And while I don't mind reading some of the names and dates, I enjoy seeing who's there and what's there, but at the same time, I also am there for the experience of it all, for the travel of it, for going on these crazy road trips to the less seen parts of the country. And so I wanted to make it more evident that that's what the channel was about, and not just about going to just to graveyards or just to cemeteries, just to visit mausoleums. And, I get these messages every day, and not necessarily that I don't appreciate the messages, but I get lots of emails, talking about different graveyards and different cemeteries that I should go visit. And that's really nice. And I appreciate all those. But at the same time, some of them are these like brand new places that, don't really fit into the model of what I'm trying to do. Hey there, Nameless. Appreciate you joining me. Or joining us. I'm doing very well. Hope that you are the same. yeah, just trying to work through some of this stuff. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. West Virginia. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to make it that way. I actually had a few West Virginia locations marked out when I went down to Kentucky last time. I just didn't have the time to end up getting those in. We spent about as much time down there as we possibly could, and ended up having to head back to Indiana. So I will be back there at some point. Maybe even possibly within the next few months or so. So yeah. At some point. I can't promise exactly when, but at the same time, it's not going to be too long. Like I said, I have lots of family in the area. I have family in Kentucky. I have family in Tennessee. I have family in Maryland, North Carolina. So we're all kind of sprinkled all around the area. So I'll be down there at some point. And yeah, I love West Virginia. I've been through there before, and lots of great places, lots of great back roads, and yeah, lots of cool things to find. Very similar, I feel like, in terms of the terrain and types of roads to some parts of eastern Kentucky and Tennessee. So, yeah, would love to go down there and check out a lot more. And I've been looking at some different mining locations and things like that. So, yeah, absolutely. Hey there, Cindy. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, everything's going pretty well now, going better. I'm looking forward to starting the streams back up again. Looks like we're all in the clear right now. Again, if anybody has any issues whatsoever, make sure to, if something were to happen for whatever reason, I really doubt it. It looks like, again, they're saying that everything's fine now, even confirmed by the actual account that like I said, Markiplier that put out the word that there was a problem. He as well was personally actually contacted by some of the top level people at YouTube and assured that they were working on the account, or not the account, the problem, I mean, and assured him that the problem was fixed. So at this point, I am, to the best of my knowledge, assuming that the problem is 100% fixed. But if for some reason any of you were to have any problems whatsoever, make sure to email me from any account that you can. You probably can, if you have no other means of recourse, you might be able to email from your phone. Many phones can actually send emails through the text message system, both on Apple as well as Android, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, for whatever reason, if you have any issues, try and get a hold of me via email. Try and get a hold of me via direct message on another platform, Instagram. I don't really do Twitter anymore. I think people have noticed that. I think my Twitter followers have dropped significantly. I really haven't been on Twitter in probably almost a month now. I just had too many issues with so many different things. And so I've sort of been at least taking a break. I do intend to start a 539 Twitter account at some point, and probably a MIstory Twitter account too. Maybe I'll just do one or the other. I'm not really sure at this point. Hey Roy, welcome to the live stream. So yeah, that's kind of where I've been. It's been rough. It kind of put the podcast on hold. I am going to try and do, I guess it is Saturday. I was going to say on the weekend, but it is the weekend. But normally, or I guess not normally, for the first 2 times, I believe we did the podcast on Sundays. If I remember correctly, both of them were on Sundays. And so, yeah, if everything goes to plan, I'm going to pick up on that again tomorrow. I do have a topic in mind, which is not exactly the most complex topic. But again, while we're just in the beginning stages of the podcast, I did kind of want to do stuff that was a little bit more simple and a little bit more personal, and then we'll kind of spread out into more and more complex topics, and sort of go into different aspects of alternative cultures, not just, again, rock and roll culture or punk culture, but also all kinds of different cultures, whether it's tattoo culture, body modification in general, or, there's all kinds of strange little subsets and different groups of people around the world that live these sort of alternative lifestyles. And so it kind of leaves us quite a wide range of subjects and things that we can delve into on the podcast, and including eventually getting some guests in here to speak to. And so I'm looking forward to expanding that content and bringing you some content that's really near and dear to my own heart and part of who I am, period. And so I think what we're going to start off with tomorrow, restarting the podcast, is just to go into why I personally chose and still choose to live this sort of lifestyle, this alternative lifestyle of sort of music-based culture, and tattoos, piercings, things like that. We're not going to really go into any of the previous topics of, things that people say, or things or ways that people judge you or anything like that, but more of the reasons that I myself and different people choose to live this sort of lifestyle. I've had some interesting experiences while we've been away, some interesting revelations about different people. I'm not going to really be calling any people out. They're not any of my friends or contacts here on YouTube, but I've noticed a few different channels and a few different people who have said some, and who otherwise are pretty great people and make really amazing content, but have said some really negative things about alternative lifestyles and people who live that way. And I don't know that they necessarily mean what they're saying. I think that some of it comes from a place of ignorance and just not really knowing many people that live that way. And so I'd like to maybe address some of that. It's not necessarily, like I said, like our last stream where we discussed different ways to talk to people if you're not in the alternative or in a alternative type of culture, to address people or to converse with people that do live in that sort of culture. But at the same time, it's just going to talk about our choices in general, why we do what we do, why it's fulfilling to us in general, maybe about some of the misconceptions of why we do what we do, and how to really judge each person as an individual, and a lot more. Like I said, I'm going to go into a lot of my personal story about why I started off, in this type of environment. So, thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree. Tattoos are very addictive. I'm trying to get in here pretty soon. And again, I am going to try, if possible, to bring you guys along with me for an episode of the podcast to basically sit through the experience from going into the shop to getting the process done, and maybe aftercare, and maybe even talking a bit with the artists themselves about what they do and how they got started. Who knows? I'm not sure exactly how it's all going to go. I don't know too many tattoo artists, but I do know a few, and I do know some owners of tattoo shops. And so I'm going to try and work out something where we can bring you guys along. Also, I am hopefully getting a few more piercings, including getting some piercings redone that I already had done. As I've said here in the past, I did used to have a septum piercing, which is the middle of your nose, for quite a while. I think 2 years. And I don't know what the deal was. It was completely healed, and I had it out for about 2 weeks, which is pretty normal anywhere else in your body. I have my inner part of your ear. It's called your tragus. It's this little piece right here. I had that pierced for about almost the same period of time, and then I left the piercing out for probably almost 6 months, and I was able to put it in a ring with no problem. And just now I left it out for about a week and a half, and no problem whatsoever. I put it in yesterday, had no issues getting it in there. And yeah, for some reason my nose closed up within 2 weeks, and was very disappointed. It was one of my favorite piercings ever. Yeah, so I'm probably going to go back in and get that done, and hopefully I'll bring you guys along with me for that as well. I agree, Jenny. Yeah, Washington's a little bit different. That area in general. Um, yeah, I don't know what it is. It just seems to be like a kind of a hot spot for people in general that live that sort of lifestyle, including on the cooking side, which is kind of interesting. I see a lot of people, probably a lot from the Anthony Bourdain series, the multiple series that he's done in the cooking, or in, I wouldn't say necessarily cooking, but just eating in general. Obviously, he was a chef until the point where he passed away recently in Paris. And yeah, just sort of this center of alternative culture, and it seems like a lot of the chefs there have a lot of piercings and tattoos themselves, and yeah, just a really cool place. Yeah, I loved my septum piercing, so I'm looking forward to getting it done again. The first time I did really well. I wasn't. They say usually people not cry as in cry out of pain, but sort of like that when you shed a tear because something sort of I don't know. The only way I can describe it is a piercing pain, but like it's not like you're in a huge amount of pain. It just causes your eyes to water or whatever. But I didn't have that problem. I didn't bleed a lot. I had a really good time with it, but at the same time, I'm a little bit worried now because I know that there might be a little bit of scar tissue, and so that worries me a little bit that it's going to be like twice as painful this time. So we'll see. That's awesome, Cindy. Yeah, I want to get some of my back. My idea, I've been thinking, a lot of people get these huge back pieces, and recently I've been thinking of it as sort of making my back sort of this billboard for everywhere that I've gone, and just to sort of travel to these different cities, like when I go to Vegas next, to, just start getting, like get the famous Vegas sign tattooed small, and then sort of start filling it up with different locations and different either landmarks or I don't know exactly, but just something that really represents the individual locations that I've been to. Yes, no reservations. There was no reservations, and then there was I can't remember it, but he had a CNN series as well. Two of my favorite shows, and one of my favorite people in general. Just an amazing person, and too bad that we lost him. You know, someone that lived the entire lifestyle, from tattoos to music, rock and roll. He was friends with a lot of with the remaining Ramones for a while, and he talked with what was it? Yeah, with Trey Cool, I believe, from Blink, well, not Blink 182, from Green Day, excuse me. And I believe he had some Blink 182 connections too. If I remember, I thought that he did something with Travis Barker. I can't remember 100%, but I do remember one of his final things that I ever saw him doing. And one of the last things he ever did, aside from his own series, was making a custom snare drum for, I believe it was Trey Cool. So it was just an amazing series that he did. And amazing content all around. So, yeah, I just want to do a bunch of, for at least my back, I thought that'd be kind of interesting to do a bunch of travel pieces. Just smaller pieces so that they don't fill up too quickly, so I can have a lot of them there. And then I always have those memories right on me from every place that I've been, or as many as I can go to and get decent tattoos with. Obviously, that's going to be somewhat of a monetary expense for me, but at the same time, I think it's well worth it. And hopefully it'll make me think twice about getting, about doing the important ones and doing the places that really have influenced me. So, but yeah, that's possibly something we can go deeper into on another episode. But at the very least, I did want to say that again, that there will be some episodes of the podcast in which we actually go out there and experience some of those things, like getting tattoos, getting piercings, and talking to these artists that do it, and getting that insider view. So, and I've always had a great experience with getting tattooed. I've always said that I enjoy getting tattooed as much as I like having tattoos. They're equally as much addicting getting them, to me at least, than as they are having them. Hey there, Sandra. Glad to have you. Thanks for joining us tonight. But yeah, I mean, I've never been, aside from maybe the very first time that I went in, I haven't really been too apprehensive about it. I mean, there are some nerves when you go in, but once you sort of jump into it, you remember everything, and then it's sort of enjoyable. It's almost like therapy in a lot of ways. And I think that in almost the same way that some people consider like a bartender to be like a quote unquote therapist, somebody you can go and talk to about your life and about your problems. And even though they're not a professional, they, in a sense, provide this sort of outlet. I think in the same way, tattoos are like that too. And, yeah, I mean, you develop these relationships with these people who are creating this artwork on your body, and it's much more than just the artwork that you end up with. And so I really want to experience more of that, and to really bring that experience to you guys too. Hey there, Manya, welcome. We did get snow, a lot of it. Well, not a lot of it. We got enough to cover all of the grass, but now it's pretty much, I would say, about 80% melted. Anything that's kind of in the shadows for most of the day is still there, but anything that gets any sunlight whatsoever is completely gone. But no, we didn't get 10 inches. I think we maybe got 3 or 4. Yeah, I'm glad everybody had the chance to join. Again, thank you very much, Sandra. Yeah. I apologize. I don't know exactly. I know I'm being a little bit not jumpy, but sort of going back and forth on the different subjects and everything, and I didn't really have tonight planned out. I don't have a specific subject in mind other than just updating everybody on what's going on. And again, we're going to try and pick up on the podcast tomorrow, but I appreciate all of you for joining, and we'll try and keep this going for a little bit. Probably won't be as long of a stream tonight. I know I've said that for probably about the past 4 streams, and I apologize. Obviously, we'll be getting into some longer streams here soon, as well as some off-topic stuff. It's not always going to be about the podcast, but I did want to also increase the time of the podcast. Possibly, we'll see. But at the same time, we're always going to be broadening the podcast and keeping that going. Yeah, thank you, Sandra. If you're watching and you're enjoying the podcast, if you support the channels, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Make sure to leave a comment if you're watching this after we're live, if you're watching the replay, as always. And again, The easiest way for these channels to grow is if you share the stream or share the video, share the replay wherever you're watching, whenever you're watching. If you share it on your Twitter account, share it on your Facebook page, whatever it is, that is the best way, which is word of mouth, essentially, for us to grow as a community. And I'm really dependent on you guys, especially now with things changing on YouTube. I sort of rely on my audience more and more to help me out with that marketing side of things, as YouTube may not always promote my videos or live streams to as many people now as what they did in the past. Even though we've grown significantly over the last few years, it is a lot harder, not only for me but for other channels as well, and so the same goes for anybody that you guys really support and really love. If you're watching their videos, make sure to give them a big thumbs up. Make sure to share those videos, because they really truly do rely on you, especially in the current environment that is on YouTube. Again, the algorithm has changed things significantly. It's harder to get views. It's harder to get promoted. It's harder to get search results. And it's not me necessarily trying to beg, but at the same time, I do want as many people who would enjoy the content to as many as possible to be able to see it. And so, make sure to give it a big thumbs up if you enjoy. And that really does help. So the algorithm, again, looks at those statistics. It looks at the amount of thumbs up you have. It looks at the amount of comments you have, kind of just the amount of interaction in general. Honestly, even if you give a thumbs down, it probably helps more than doing nothing. So, if you really truly hate the podcast, give it a thumbs down. It'll help me either way. So, yeah. So hopefully everybody's having a great weekend. Other than that, things on the 539 channel, obviously I've slowed things down a bit. It just, again, was not helping to have more videos. I tried to do the 4 a week, and it wasn't necessarily bad. I didn't necessarily have a horrible time putting out that many videos every single week, and I did enjoy upping that content for all of you guys. But at the end of the day, I just noticed that while some channels can sort of get away with whatever schedule they want, they can post daily, they can post multiple times a day, they can, essentially ignore the thumbnail rules, ignore the title rules, whatever it is that they do seems to do incredibly well. Some channels just can't do that, and mine's one of them. I've tried doing that. I've tried posting multiple videos in the same day, and I always get punished for it. If I post 4 times a week, I sort of get punished for it, or I get no benefit whatsoever. It's not making it out to more people. It's not really helping anything whatsoever, and it's sort of actually negatively affecting the channel in a lot of ways. And I noticed that after a few months that it just was not going anywhere. And so I thought, some of the best times that the channel's experienced were on 1 video a week, and I didn't want to necessarily go back to 1 a week, even though I know that I have done that recently, and I apologize for that. But my intention at this point is to go back to about 2 videos a week. I think that's excuse me. I need to grab my pop here real quick. But essentially, I think that the 2 videos a week is a pretty happy medium in between the 4 and the 1, where I can offer more content, but at the same time not screw myself over with the algorithm. So until I figured out why all this is happening and how to get around it, and why some channels get punished and some channels seem to be the golden children of YouTube and can do whatever they want, and it's not content, because anyone from urban explorers to ghost channels and paranormal series, a lot of people that I know are allowed to sort of post as much as they want and do fine, and for whatever reason, a few of us out there cannot, and I don't know why. And as far as I know, YouTube won't tell me why. I have mentioned it in the past, and again, most of the time what I get back is messages explaining why it's my fault, and it's clearly not. Again, it seems that their first response is always why you're screwing everything up, being me, myself. An example, when I first had notification issues where some of you guys were notifying me that you weren't getting notifications on your phone when new videos were coming out, and I sent that into YouTube and said, hey, a lot of my followers or a lot of my subscribers are saying they're not getting notifications even though they've clicked the notification bell and turned the notifications on. And their first response to me was, well, hey, not all of your not all of your subscribers are going to click on the notifications. And I said, well, that's not really the problem. I wasn't complaining, they were complaining. So the people who weren't getting the notifications are the ones that are telling me that they're not getting notifications. Therefore, your response is completely irrelevant. It's not about who's clicking and who's not clicking. It's about the people who want to be clicking but aren't able to click because they're not getting the notifications to click on and watch. And again, they emailed me back several times saying, well, it's probably your fault. And it's like, well, what can I do to push notifications when that's not part of my account? I can't say anything about blocking notifications. I can't tell YouTube that I don't want notifications to be sent out. It's all up to the individual subscriber to click on that bell and say that they want notifications. So if they're telling me they're not getting them, that's all on YouTube. That's all on you guys. Not you guys as in the viewers, obviously, but you guys as in the people that I was talking to, the support crew on the other end that I get for being a verified YouTube partner, someone who puts content out there that's they run ads on, and obviously I make money off of those ads. I'm not that's not a secret. I don't try to hide that from any of my viewers. I would like to continue to do YouTube as a career for many years, and so I'm not hiding that in any way, but at the same time that does affect my bottom line very significantly when they're not telling people that my videos are out. Yeah, it's an interesting environment on YouTube right now, and I will say that there are a lot of people out there that do care, and I think that some of the disconnect is that some of them don't. There's people who are good at business, and then there's people who are truly out there to sort of promote and support the creators themselves. And if you've never touched that aspect of it and you don't really know what it's like to be a creator, then it might be harder for you to make good decisions for people who are creators. It's the same thing as in Hollywood. There's people who have been actors who then become producers and become directors, become financiers, and they know personally what it's like to be in the role of an actor or a creator, and can make really great decisions on their behalf. And then there's people who are just good at numbers. They're good at profits, they're good at marketing, they're good at things like that. But when it comes to the smaller creators that might put out content that a lot of people would like to see, but not a lot of people are seeing, they don't know how to sort of turn that over and create that new audience. It's like I've said so many times, I feel like I don't feel like I make the most popular content on YouTube, but I feel like a lot more people than what see my videos would actually like my videos. I don't I'm not saying I should be, I'm not saying I should have millions of followers or millions of subscribers, but to say that maybe I should have at least double what I have now, I don't think that's necessarily out of the realm of possibilities. I think that there's a lot of people that would really enjoy seeing what I create, and I know that there's a lot of people out there who do love seeing what I create. And I think based upon comparing my numbers and the number of thumbs up, the number of thumbs down, the number of comments, the number of positive comments versus the number of negative comments, which is almost 90, I want to say 95% positive, that based on those numbers, I do feel like the channel is, or should be a decent amount more popular than what it is. And so I do feel like it's a fault of the algorithm in a lot of ways, that it's not promoting my content due to certain reasons, and not promoting a lot of other people's content out there due to certain reasons. And I think that's a shame. And again, it's not all about the numbers. It's not all about the likes or subs. I kind of went into this knowing that I would always be, not necessarily a small YouTuber, but not necessarily the biggest YouTuber ever. And I didn't really want to be the biggest YouTuber ever. I didn't want to create that content that I knew that would be hitting the trending page every single day. I don't want to create content just to be trending. I just wanted to go out there and create content that I love and that I like to do. That's why I chose the travel. That's why I chose the type of travel that I chose. I knew that it wouldn't be, going to a beach in Maui, or I knew it wouldn't be going to the Eiffel Tower or things like that, but I wanted to create this series that I truly liked to create. And and so while I didn't expect to be the biggest, I didn't expect to sort of be punished for it either. And so that's sort of the problem that I've run into, is that with the algorithm, I've sort of begun, along with a lot of other people, again, not to make it all about me, a lot of us have been punished for making the content that we truly love, even though there's a lot of people out there that enjoy watching it, and because it doesn't really mimic what we see on the trending page, it just doesn't get promoted, and even though I make, I don't brag a lot, but I'm pretty good at Photoshop. In fact, I'm not the best, but I'm really good at Photoshop, and I know I make really crazy, interesting thumbnails and stuff that really follows the guidelines of what YouTube considers, at least the algorithm considers, to be a interesting thumbnail, which again is controlled by the algorithm. The algorithm is the one that examines the thumbnails and determines whether or not they're considered to be interesting. And I know that I can do that, and I know that I do that. And I know that they don't really treat me fairly, even though I do that. So who knows? Thank you. I appreciate that, Sandra. I hope to make it to millions one of these days, at least on one of the channels. We'll see. I'm very confident that one of these days we will break the million mark on one of the channels, whether it's the 539 channel, whether it's the MIstory channel, or whether it's whatever project that I conceive of next. Maybe it's the music. Maybe we'll create a third channel just specifically for the music, and maybe we'll break that million mark by doing that. Music's really popular. Obviously, it's a lot more popular than what I do right now, and so maybe that's the chance that we'll have to break that mark. But, I'm not giving up. I don't give up. I just restructure, I'm always going to do something that I want to do and something that I love. But, whatever turns out to be popular, I guess, is up to that algorithm. Thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I get discouraged, but I don't give up. I'll be damned if I allow some algorithm to completely control my future, and whatever I have to do, whether it's, increasing my work on other platforms to, sort of spread the word, or creating new accounts on new platforms to do the same, whether it's working more on Instagram, or maybe creating a SoundCloud, or maybe even going to something like go into something like Twitch or Mixer or anything. I'm willing to do anything. At this point, again, I'm not looking for fame and fortune. I'm just looking for being treated fairly, getting my due, and reaching the people who want to see me. I don't need the whole world to love me. I've never expected the whole world to love me. In fact, I've known that I've lived, like I said, the whole reason I created the podcast, around the whole alternative lifestyle is to embrace, that I live, a lifestyle and create content which is not necessarily widely popular, but is good, and I don't brag, but I don't claim to be the most talented person in the world to create the best videos in the world, but at the same time, I know I have talent, and I know that I do create good content, and so along with all the other creators alongside me, I see all kinds of people, even my friends, kind of getting the shaft, even though they create amazing work, and struggling for views, despite having maybe just a few short years ago having all the views in the world. I have friends that, again, struggle sort of like me, but have in years in the past have 10 times as many views as me. I have friends that have single videos that are, dwarf my entire channel, who have the same issues as what I have right now. And I just don't think that's fair for YouTube. And so it's not just about me either. It's about me and the community of people that we all have created together. I think it's just important for YouTube to treat people fairly. Hey there, Molly. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you on the stream. Sorry you had to join at such a somber moment here. But, this is the return to the live streams, and just announcing that we're going to be back and doing the podcast here. And I do feel like podcasts in general are pretty popular, so, maybe when we get this thing off and rolling, maybe YouTube will sort of change their mind on my content, and who knows? Maybe they'll be happy to promote the podcast. Who knows? Tattoos aren't necessarily unpopular on YouTube, and there's a lot of great content that gets a lot of great views. And again, it's not all about views. I don't want to make it about that. Like I said, I don't need a lot of views. I just want to be treated fairly. But, at the same time, I kind of knew coming into this that I was going to be always on this sort of uphill struggle doing what I did. I kind of started out on the urban exploration track, and I knew that was going to be harder in terms of getting subscribers and getting views and getting likes and comments and all that. But I knew at that time I didn't have the ability to do the more popular things like music. A lot of my equipment was aged and in desperate need of repair, and so I needed to attend to that while doing something else that I truly loved. And so I decided if I can buy a cheap camera, that I can create digital content and get a lot of people over time to subscribe and enjoy what I create, then maybe sometime in the future I can go back to other areas that I also enjoy creating, and maybe that'll be a little bit easier for me. And so again, it wasn't about I want to just stress that it's not about the numbers to me. I know that to me, at least, it sounds like that's what I'm talking about right now. I truly love travel. I've always loved traveling. I've always loved exploring. I've been hiking and going to crazy places since, as far as I can remember. Before I was 10 years old, I remember going on crazy vacations with my family to these wild places. Some of the places that I've even been able to share with you. Chain Rock is a place that I've been to numerous times. even when I was younger. And so it was one of those things that I really, truly enjoyed being able to finally bring to the 539 channel. And there's places that I haven't been able to get back to yet that I would love to bring you guys along with. And so travel really has been an important part, and adventure and exploring has always been a very important part of my life. And so I don't want to belittle that content either. But at the same time, I knew that from the beginning that music in general was always a little bit more popular on YouTube, and that if I had the ability, it would be probably easier for me in terms of growth and being able to sustain the content creation. But at the same time, like I said, it's a little bit harder to get started off when you're coming from a point of not having all the equipment necessary to do it. Thank you. Yeah, I know that things will get worked out one way or the other, At a certain point, they can't stop you because you've been doing it long enough that enough people know you and enough people will support you, And the second channel is a great example of that. I don't have a lot of subscribers on here, but at the same time, the subscribers that I do have are not from the algorithm. Most of the people that have subscribed to this channel know me from 539 and were just willing to support my new venture and to give it a shot. And a lot of people have enjoyed what I've created over here and enjoyed these live streams and even enjoyed some of the past full episodes or non-live episodes that I've done. And so despite the algorithm and despite that this channel is not monetized and not on that system, it has still done fairly decently over the years. And yeah, so it kind of proves that, if you do create great content and do work hard, you can, in some ways at least, get around those rules. And even though it's hard, it is doable. And so, with time, I feel like, we're going to still make it. It's just a matter of waiting it out and seeing when it happens and then going from there. And there's a lot of great channels out there, and a lot of people grow at different rates. Some people are around for a couple years and they're already in the millions, and some people it can take 10 years. But at the same time, it's always going to be doable, and you just got to keep at it, and that's always the challenge, is to stay at it and not get discouraged. And hey, it's something that I struggle with to this day. When I do a lot of hard work, I've come from a place where I kind of expect to be rewarded for working hard, and sometimes you just don't get that on this platform. And it's unfortunate for, not only me, but other creators as well. But you just gotta keep at it and not quit. So that's what I'm trying to do. So hey there, Laura, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate you being here. But yeah, so I've just sort of been taking the time that I haven't been online to evaluate everything and to sort of formulate this plan of how I want to move forward from here, what I want to do, other platforms that I'd like to expand my work on. Obviously, Instagram being one of those. I want to get back to where I used to be on Instagram. I used to be creating, probably about, creating, I guess is the appropriate term, but posting about 12 new images a day, and I'm down to probably about 12 new images a week, maybe at the very most. So I need to increase that, and I've also been trying to do a lot more on Facebook as well. Thank you, Monty. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I try to be authentic. I don't enjoy, the channels that are overtly fake or that do things strictly for popularity. I don't think it comes off as authentic. And so I've always tried to just be one of those channels that, despite what might be trending, I'm just always doing what I love to do instead. I just can't, because I can't justify it. I don't know that I have it inside of me to do what is just purely popular. It wouldn't even be good. I don't even think I could do good content like that, because my heart wouldn't be in it. I don't really enjoy making videos which I don't feel like have substance to them. And it's not, again, not to detract from anybody that does certain types of videos. If you love doing what you do, then more power to you, and continue to do that for as long as you possibly can, and as long as you can sustain that and gain an audience of people. And it's not to, again, detract from their work, but if I can't find the value in my own life of doing that type of content, then I just cannot make good content of it. Yeah, it's just a tough environment on YouTube right now. It really is. And supposedly the algorithm will continue to get better over the years. I do believe in technology in general, but the algorithm is sort of at the hands of the people who create it, and is as good as those people, not as good as the people, but as good as the work those people are doing on the algorithm. And so I just hope that continues to improve, and it continues to improve itself, and learns better what people like. In terms of what I see from my own video watching history, it seems fairly rudimentary at this point. It sort of suggests to me a handful of things based on the last video that I watch, and not necessarily attempting to go any deeper and find things that I might like. So yeah, it sort of seems to be lowest common denominator. If I watch, a Jenna Marbles video, it'll suggest a bunch more of Jenna Marbles videos, no matter if they're 10 years old, and not necessarily that that's a bad thing. I enjoy a lot of her content, but it doesn't necessarily go out there and say, well, who else creates videos sort of like this, but it's not her. It doesn't really do anything like that. So I kind of get the feeling that just because somebody watches a video that's similar to mine doesn't mean that they're going to be suggested to watch my video. They might just be suggested to watch more of that person's videos, and it's not necessarily getting people to spread their wings at this point. So I don't know. I truly hope that it gets better. I think that it will. I really do. Yeah, I agree, Sandra. You can't give up. I think the worst thing is to give up, because, if you don't create content, then nobody's seeing anything, and, how can you move forward from there? There's no way to move up if you're not moving at all. So you got to create something. You got to keep working. And I think diversification, just like in any other aspect of business, is the key part, If one platform isn't working, then, expand and get to another, and get on, 5 more platforms, So that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying, like I said, to expand my Facebook content, expand my, I'm trying right now to expand my Instagram content. And yeah, I mean, there's going to be something that hits the mark, and, when the one thing hits the mark, usually everything else follows, because once you kind of get in that lane where a particular platform realizes that what you're doing is at least semi-popular, and they start to promote you, then people will eventually seek out your other forms of creation, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or whatever it might be, and they will sort of wouldn't really say defeat is the right word, but they will go beyond. They will go beyond what the algorithm does for you and sort of do that good job of marketing for you. Again, like I've always said, word of mouth is going to be the most popular form of marketing, the most successful form of marketing, and at a certain point, there's nothing that any algorithm can do to keep you down. There's just enough people out there that support you and that know who you are that you're gonna overcome. Yeah, Cindy, exactly. Yeah, books would be an interesting field to be in, especially nowadays. Having to sort of transition from the physical form to the digital form and figure out that new environment and how it relates. It's becoming a struggle. I think a lot of people, I feel like, with the written word have sort of become spoiled with. I mean, I hate to say it, with content like mine, where it's videos, and not necessarily like mine, but just with video in general, and it's been a struggle to sort of digitize that and get people to see that just because you have a screen doesn't mean you need to watch a video. You can also read and continue to enjoy that aspect of creation. And I still put a lot of emphasis on written word, and I think it's something that we should all invest a little bit of our time into. And but I think it's one of those fields that has probably been the most affected by the move from the physical format to the digital format. And again, I think it's unfortunate because the digital format makes reading all that much easier when I can have a single tablet in my hand and I can read thousands and thousands of books, but yet, a lot of people choose, including myself a lot of times, to watch videos instead, and I think that's something that we can fix, But I think as a society, we're growing up right now in terms of our digital content, not only creation but consumption. Yeah, that I agree. I mean, the as the song says, the video killed the radio star. It's sort of the same thing with the written word, that a lot of people would rather listen to like audiobooks or watch a video, and it's kind of unfortunate because I feel like we should consume formats in all kinds, or consume media in all kinds of different formats. So, Sorry I sound so somber tonight. Again, I don't mean to make this like a sad live stream, but it's been somewhat exhausting trying to figure everything out over the past few weeks. And I put so much effort over the years into building this, and then to sort of have, a small group of people on the top end who have probably never seen my content and never experienced what I do and have no knowledge of the value of what I do, to sort of control who sees what I do and who consumes what I create. It's I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, it's exhausting to live in that environment. And for every YouTuber, I feel like, and every digital content creator out there, to have these people who are good at what they do in terms of marketing and business, but maybe don't quite understand content creation and what people like to watch, and are more centered on this traditional form of media. I heard a lot of or I heard somebody, I can't remember exactly who it was, but somebody said it really interesting the other day that in a traditional sense, in a Hollywood sense, in a television sense, a lot of these channels would never get signed, would never get contracts, because a lot of Hollywood people or television people would not see the value in a lot of these different formats, even though they're widely popular. And so, unfortunately, those people sort of get stepped all over, and the algorithms or the people that run the platforms just don't assume that what you do would be popular to anybody, even though it really is. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, again, yeah, it's very very important. I mean, um, there's been these talks recently on creator burnout and how people work so hard to accomplish what they want to accomplish on social media, but at the same time don't make it as far as they would like to make it. And there's this burnout that's going on where people just are out of energy essentially and can't continue forward. And I've experienced that myself. I've taken a few different breaks here over the last year, and a lot of that has to do with burnout. Some of it's to do with just sort of reinventing myself and coming up with new and creative ways to bring content to you guys that I really enjoy to create. And again, some of it's just being physically and mentally exhausted from trying to navigate these increasingly difficult avenues of releasing your content and having it do well. I remember having somewhat of an easier time years ago, even though I didn't have nearly maybe a tenth of the amount of subscribers, and would have videos make it to 40, 50,000, 100,000, a million plus views. And now, struggling for a couple thousand views, which is a lot of views. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it's a different environment, And again, I'm not the only one. It's not to make it about me either. I know a lot of people out there that have the same exact struggles, and so it's really unfortunate. But I think it has to change at a certain point. It has to get better. Eventually, they're gonna want and need to make it better to continue to be a business, to be successful, and at least I hope that's the way it is. Yeah, I mean, it comes to that point with the whole burnout thing. It's like you get to the point where you have the time to create something new, but you just think to yourself, what's the point if the platform that I am posting to is just going to run over and sort of dismiss anything that I create, then even though that I might have the time to do it, what's the point of doing it? And that's where it becomes a struggle, And you got to convince yourself, that no matter how few people end up seeing it at the end, you still got to keep going, because quitting is never going to get you anywhere. And if you could just continue to go, there might be that opportunity, no matter what that opportunity might be, whether it's, collaborating with another YouTuber who's bigger than you and who might bring some new audience to your channel, or getting picked up by, some sort of other media platform where you can do some side work that might, again, bring some more awareness of what you do, or just time in general, just reaching as many people as you can, and hopefully a lot of those people will enjoy what you do. And again, not to make it completely about numbers. It's not about numbers, but you'd never want to get to that place where it's just like you're it's like I can create content that I love personally, but if nobody's watching it, then um, not that I don't want to continue to create, but at the same time, you just think to yourself, if nobody enjoys it, then I want to put it somewhere else. I want to start over somewhere else, do something different. Uh, and that's not where I am right now. I don't want to quit doing 539, and I don't want to quit doing this channel. I just want to improve upon what I'm doing and to the point where at least there's a little bit wider of an audience that enjoys it, and then I'm able to do more of the content that I enjoy and get people out there that enjoy it too to see that content. So yeah, it's a weird struggle. I'll say that it's different, but I think it's important. But I think as a community, we're building something. We're building a brand new, not brand new, but something. We're building something new. This is something that really hasn't been done. We're creating a brand new Hollywood from scratch that doesn't have this crazy corporate structure that's not so hard to break into. And then we have these people who are on the corporate end of it who don't necessarily have the experience that we do in creation, who are trying to figure out how to essentially control it and how to protect themselves from different liabilities. And so that's where their mind is on where are our liabilities and what's going to affect our bottom line, and that doesn't always align with the desires of the creators. Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. Yeah, I think that there's been a lot more. YouTube has sort of gone through this phase where they've had the whole adpocalypse and all that, and yeah, to a certain degree they've forgotten. This again, I think that there's some people out there that are in it for the creators, but they're worried right now about their own bottom line and about advertisers and things like that. And so, yeah, it becomes this sort of balancing act of when do we support creators and when do we, support advertisers, Hey there, Brandon. Good to have you here. Absolutely, Molly. I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I can truly say that I've worked harder doing YouTube than I've worked at any other career that I've had in my life. But I feel like I'm more satisfied doing what I do here than what I could do in other areas of my professional life, especially with IT work. I know that I could make more money doing computer work, but I choose to do this because it's more satisfying. It is what I want to do. It's for all intensive purposes is the only place that I feel like I do fit in. I never liked living out somebody else's dream, some other business's goals. I always felt like I needed a place where I could express myself and express my own artwork and not be making somebody else's artwork. I could make more money as a creator by going into something like wedding photography. I've done it before. It's good money. It's not incredibly hard to do. But at the same time, while I respect, that business, it is making artwork for somebody else, for their special day, for their special occasions, for their families, and while, again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, I just, at the end of the day, I felt, to me personally, it was not as fulfilling as creating my own private artwork that I could put out there for other people to view and enjoy. And I just kind of felt like if I'm not really truly desiring to do that, then it's never going to, no matter how much money I make, it's never going to be completely satisfying. I just could never imagine, because I know there's 1,000 jobs that I could do where I make a lot of money, but I just hate the work that I'm doing, and I never found it in me to do that type of thing. I never could do something I hated. At the end of the day, it just always was like running into a brick wall. There was just always a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. Sometimes quite literally. There was just points where it was just like, that's the end. That's the end of that job, because I can't do it anymore. I don't feel it. I can't physically get up and go in and do this job because I'm just done, and I don't know how. And, even though I might be good at it, I don't mentally know how to pick myself up anymore and go in there and continue to do that. And so I decided to do something I love and to take a huge risk. And it's in some ways paid off, and in some ways it's become difficult, but I wouldn't take it back ever. Yeah, I agree, Sandra, and I think that in a lot of ways YouTube does see that, and I think that they might be, I think if they're smart, they are worried about that. There are a lot of other platforms out there that could potentially become more popular, whether it's Twitch, whether it's Mixer, whether it's Instagram. A lot of these places are starting to create, even if they're the Instagram has Instagram TV now, and different places where you can put up longer format videos, and so there is a significant threat to any one platform that refuses to evolve with the times. And so eventually, it's just like with Facebook. Facebook has started to put options out there for people to make a career out of posting videos on Facebook. And so if any one platform refuses to evolve, then they will eventually fall by the wayside. Thank you, Cindy. Occasionally, I've done a few short videos on Instagram, nothing too big, but yeah. And there's, like I said, Instagram TV, which is a longer format type of creation that you can do. I haven't tried that quite yet, but I've had a few friends out there like Rob and Joe that have started releasing some IGTV videos. Yeah, exactly, Molly. Yeah, I kind of did the same thing. I decided to get out of what was merely paying me money and get into something that I felt that was fulfilling. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Night, Molly. Yeah, I've noticed that Facebook has been improving. For a while, it was you had to have 10,000 likes just to monetize, and now you have to have 1,000. And I can't remember what the watch numbers are. It's pretty significant. You might as well have 10,000 just to do it. But at the same time, I've been posting a lot more over there in general just to sort of, like I said, diversify. So not necessarily to make money right away. And I hope that I can. Again, I've never been shy about saying that, I want to make money doing what I love. I don't have any issues with that. And honestly don't believe in e-begging. I think that it's a legitimate career to create entertainment and be paid for creating entertainment. And to be honest, like I laugh a little bit sometimes because I watch TV and I see how many commercials are on TV, and I think to myself, if people really truly just compared the amount of commercials that they saw on their favorite sitcom, and then went on YouTube and watched their favorite YouTuber, they would see 10 times fewer ads. And so it's like it's not that big of a deal. It's something that we've all, at least a lot of us, have grown up with. You know, a lot of us that have grown up on traditional media remember watching, you know, a half an hour long TV show with, you know, nearly 15 minutes worth of commercials. And it's like, you know, if I put out a half an hour video, you might see, yeah, first of all, you're going to see that full half hour of video. And then on top of that, you might see like 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes worth of ads. And it's like, it's nothing compared to what traditional media outlets and these huge overbloated media companies with all these bureaucracies behind them, it's nothing compared to that. And so it's like, maybe we shouldn't complain about, and as a creator, I don't want to ever demonize any viewers, but I mean, you know, it's like, even as myself as a viewer, and sometimes it's like, oh man, another ad, and it's like, wait, maybe I shouldn't complain so much, because if I were watching NBC right now, I'd be seeing 10 times as many ads. And it's like, if I can watch one 30-second ad to support my favorite YouTuber, then, you know, damn it, I'm going to do it. I don't care. Who cares? It's well worth it. To me, as a viewer, to me, it's worth it, you know. Yeah, again, Sandra, yeah, just that word of mouth is so important. And on, you know, the internet, that's people's ability to share things on their own profiles, you know, whether it's Twitter, whether it's, you know, sharing something from, you know, your Facebook page to their Facebook page. You know, there's always going to be that chance that something goes viral, that a lot of people, even if it's not necessarily viral, even if it's just 1,000 people, you know, that end up resharing what you originally shared, you know, it makes a huge difference. So, you know, and again, it's about diversity. I think people really truly find out at the end of the day. The more I watch YouTube, at least as a consumer of YouTube, I find out that traditional media bores me more and more. I have a harder time now going through things like Netflix and Amazon and finding things that I actually want to watch. Excuse me. I don't know why I was going to say write, but I find myself just scrolling through, and then a lot of times I'll end up back on YouTube. And it's like, even if there's nothing new, I'll just look for videos that are 5, 6, 7 years old and watch things that I've never seen before, because I find that most of the content, or traditional content, is sort of not necessarily copying each other, but at the same time, it's not necessarily different. It's like there's 1,000 sitcoms, you know, there's 1,000 documentary series that never really, you know, discover anything, and you know, there's a ton of news shows that just repeat the same content over and over. And then there's YouTube, and you can find a million different videos and never see the same thing twice unless you're looking at the trending list. But, you know, if you're really doing a deep dive into the content, I mean, you could go for days and never watch the same type of video twice. You know, it's a breath of fresh air, you know. Hey there, Kenneth. Welcome. Good to have you, man. Appreciate you being here. So, yeah, it's kind of this weird back and forth where it's like you're always fighting for these platforms to put your work out there in a way that people can find it and view it. And it's, again, not personally, I'm not bragging about myself, but in terms of the whole entire package of what you can view, there's so much more you can see here, and yet it's so much, I wouldn't say harder, because from a personal standpoint, it's easier to break into YouTube as opposed to becoming an actor or a writer or director or producer or whatever it is through traditional means. But at the same time, to get that content promoted, it can be difficult. But it's just a weird, like I said, it's a weird environment. But yet at the same time, I just feel like it's better, on so many different levels, and it has so much more to offer for even the viewer, and I just think there's this disconnect with traditional media where they don't really truly understand everything that people like, and even with their YouTube videos, I find a lot. Not to demean any one person, I enjoy watching a lot of traditional type of media outlets on their YouTube channels. I don't steer clear of them, but at the same time, sometimes I see these like 30-second long videos that have a 15-second long ad, and it's just this small little clip of nothing. And I think to myself, do they really truly understand the platform? And I don't think that they do. A lot of them. I think that people like, in some ways, like Will Smith and like Jack Black, and Kevin Hart and people like that, are starting to really embrace the platform in the way that it was intended to be used, and have created some really interesting and creative content. And I enjoy watching a lot of them. And yeah, it's great to see when they truly understand, but then you see a lot of these TV shows just using it to put up these 2-minute long clips, and it's like, it's not even that popular, I mean, it gets views obviously, but it's like, what are you really thinking when you're just putting a 2-minute? It's like, I don't want to watch a 2-minute clip of your TV show. I want to watch something extra, something different, something I can't see when I'm watching you on TV. And then there's some of those people that actually get it. I think that's encouraging, Cindy. Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to switch. I mean, I have a TV, and I honestly, I have not once hooked up an antenna to it. I don't have cable television. I watch Netflix, I watch YouTube, and I watch Amazon. And that is pretty much the extent of what I watch. And yeah, I don't really care for much else. And even like I said, I watch far more YouTube than anything. A lot of times I just put the autoplay on and, put it on some creator that I know I'm going to like a lot of what they're creating, and I'll just let it go. And if at all, a lot of times it's just running in the background as, something to listen to while I'm doing other things, while I'm doing social media, while I'm editing photos, sometimes even while I'm editing videos. A lot of times go through the first time and create clips of different segments, and then I'll sort of pull that together into a full episode, and that's when I'll turn the sound off and sort of do a real deep edit. Hey there, Venna. Good to have you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah, TV can be depressing. I will admit that, yeah. Especially if you watch local news. I feel like local news is nothing but bad news, which I think is kind of sad, because I feel like there's so much more to talk about. I don't think a lot of news outlets anymore even understand what news is. I see so many things that are labeled as breaking news, and I'm thinking that's not really even news at all. Like, I've gone through some of these things from news channels, like not to it was a funny video in some ways, but I was watching this thing from Inside Edition, I think it was, and it was labeled as a news story, and it was, how did this teenage girl get stuck in a seatbelt? And I thought to myself, that's funny, but that's not news. That's not breaking news. It's not about anything. It's just a funny video, and you're just filling time. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, local weather I can understand. That makes sense. You got to plan your day out. Have I heard from Big Steve? Not personally. I know he takes breaks from time to time, and he does a lot of family stuff. He has a lot of responsibilities on the other end of things, and so he's probably out there caring for the family. Steve's a good guy. He puts a lot of work into caring for his older family as well as his younger family. I know he has, a niece he cares for, I think, on a regular basis, and his grandmother that he helps care for on a regular basis. And so he's a pretty busy guy and has dealt with a lot of challenges in his life. And so, he just gets busy sometimes. But no, Steve is not like personally contacted me to say there's any issues. He has my phone number, and he knows he's more than free to contact me at any time. I've never, or I should say, I mean, it's just always been that way since we met each other. We've always had this open line of communication, so I haven't heard any issues personally, and I would hope that if he had any problems, he would contact me too. I'd be happy to help him with anything, but at the same time, I don't think that there's any overwhelming issues that are going on. I'm sure that he's just busy. As far as the last time since he's posted, I don't think it's been too long. He's been doing, honestly, fairly well in a lot of these streams that he's been doing recently, doing the joint streams with other creators and stuff. And so I think he's been having a lot of fun doing that. And yeah, other than that, I'm not sure. But he hasn't said anything to me anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I watched part of the video and then I turned it off on the seatbelt. It was literally just a bunch of police officers and a teenage, and nobody was even. It wasn't even an emotional situation. They were all laughing about it, and I just didn't understand why it was news. It just was like one of those funny videos. I mean, I guess it's Inside Edition. They do things like that all the time, so I guess I can't 100% blame them, but it did make it into the breaking news category, and I couldn't understand why. So, yeah, I don't know. A lot of things makes it into the news category that I feel like is not current or important in any way to society or to our daily lives in any way. Yeah, I'm sure Steve's doing fine. He's on Facebook. Yeah, I've never seen him do any live on Facebook, but yeah. Maybe he doesn't. I just didn't know about it. I don't know. I'm sure that he doesn't update me on absolutely everything he does, but we do keep in contact. But yeah, I think he's done a live stream within the last week or so. He might just be tired from doing so many live streams. I know he did live streams for like 4 or 5 days in a row. And I think one day he did like 2 or 3 live streams in the same day with different people. So maybe he just needed a break himself. His channel seems to be doing okay. Like me, he's not the fastest growing channel on YouTube, but he's also not monetized at all, and that does kind of make a difference. So I think that he'll be back on here in a short time. Yeah, I'll get back with you on that in a little bit here. Yeah, I've actually seen you on there, Nameless. Sometimes I don't always chat in different people's live streams, um, for different reasons. Sometimes I don't want to draw attention away from another creator, so I'll just watch. So occasionally I'm there, so I'll just watch and give my thumbs up and support them that way. You know, obviously as someone I've worked with in the past and met up with and have developed a friendship with, I don't always feel the need to announce myself when I'm watching a stream. And sometimes, again, like I said, I don't want to detract from what they're doing. So I just stay in the background. But you never know when I'm there watching. Yeah, Nameless T-shirt also does. As you can tell from the name, he does custom screen printing. What are out on the East Coast, right? Let's see. New Jersey, is it? Am I right? I might be saying the wrong state. I hope not. Oh, you're doing live streams. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. I'll have to check that out sometime. Actually, you know what? I believe I popped in on a live stream. I think, did you do a live stream or a joint stream with Steve once? Because I think I popped in once on Steve's stream and you were in the, you were on the screen in one of the smaller picture-in-picture or whatever you call it. I don't know. Hold on just a second. Oh, Massachusetts. My bad. I don't know why I was thinking New Jersey. I got the right coast at least, though. I think I may have, Emmy. I've seen so many different people. He has a lot of people on his streams, and yeah, I'm pretty sure. Cause I've actually tuned in the last, I want to say 2 or 3 streams that he's done. So if it's been recently, I'm bad with remembering names, whether it's seeing them. Yeah, but I do believe actually, if it's been within the last few, then for sure. Hey there, Pam. Thanks for joining us. Wow, that is a rigorous schedule. That's awesome. That's really hard work. Hey there, Jake. Welcome. Good to have you. Yeah, it'd be interesting to do live streams that often. I would love to do a lot more. Hopefully here, but like I said, but just had some hurdles I needed to overtake. So I'm hoping that's all done by now, and we'll be able to move forward. I would say hi. There's a few other reasons in the background why I don't necessarily say hi, even not necessarily just to not draw attention to myself. Thanks for joining us, Cindy. Good to have you. You have a great night. I'm hoping to remedy those situations pretty soon, but there's some other obstacles that I have with joining not just Steve's stream, but with a few other streams. There's been a few people that I can't necessarily come into contact with, if you know what I mean, that frequent some streams. And so I've been taking a sort of backseat. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've found some interesting places the last few videos. Been trying to get out there despite the weather. Despite the rain and the snow and slippery roads, I've been trying to do my best to continue to make content. I like being out even in the bad weather. Sometimes different locations play well with the bad weather, and some locations don't play so well with the bad weather, and so it's been getting a little bit harder. I need to sort of go further and further to find locations that work well. I've kind of exhausted my resources locally, and so that's the only problem, among other things. But yeah, we'll be doing some cool winter episodes here, but I think the snow is going to be gone for a while now. It seemed to be sort of this Arctic blast coming in from the north, and normally this area doesn't get much snow until late December, early January, so I think the next few weeks will be pretty ripe for filming. And I did a few things that, as you know, I've been working on a series trying to locate the lost graveyard that hasn't been seen since the late 1970s, and I did go out and I did film again, and that series is not complete. So I haven't been able to release anything yet, but I have been out and about and filming stuff that hasn't been released too, so it's just in the works. No, nobody new, nothing like that. Just trying to avoid some bad situations. Always Lindenwood. Yeah, I've heard of that place. Yeah, yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen a little bit about it. I don't know a lot about it, but I have seen some cool stuff there. So yeah, I might have to try that. But yeah, there's a decent amount. It just depends. I don't know. Like I said, I'll have to look more detailed into everything. And like I said, I am trying to spread my wings a little bit in terms of not always doing graveyards and cemeteries. That's been somewhat of the reason. I spent a lot of time doing research on different locations to try and broaden my content, and so that's why I haven't been doing as much of the cemetery stuff, even though it's available. Hey there, Matthew. Good to have you. No exes. I haven't had any relationships like that in a while. So yeah, that's sort of the reason behind a lot of it. I really want to make sure that it's apparent that even the graveyards and cemeteries are a part of an adventure travel series, and not. Again, I've gotten too many comments where people are mad at me for not doing the full tour, or for not walking down the rows and reading every single name and every single date off, and a lot of people that have been sort of confused about what I'm actually doing. And so that's part of the reason that I haven't continued to do the cemeteries and graveyards at the same rate that I was doing before. It was just because there was too many people getting confused about what the channel was about and what I was really trying to accomplish. And quite frankly, I had to tell a few people that it's probably better off if they found a new channel to watch, because that wasn't the channel I was trying to create. And I do appreciate the people who enjoy that side of the channel, but I just wanted to make it abundantly clear that that's not the only type of videos that I do, and that it is a travel series. Do I have your any? Yeah, if you signed up for Patreon, and filled it out there, then yeah, I have access to that. If for some reason you haven't gotten something and you feel like you should have, yeah, shoot me an email over at 539productions@gmail.com, and I'll try and correct that. Other than that, they usually everything gets sent out at the beginning of the first month that it charges your account. Unfortunately, I've gotten screwed a few times in the past where people have tried to sign up for things and then cancel like a week later, so they get the benefits package without ever having to actually pay. And so I need to restructure it so it charges immediately, so I don't necessarily have to do that. But unfortunately, with everything else going on, I haven't done that yet. So a movie star. Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't know there was many movie stars from the area. I do know. I can't remember her name now. I do this every time, but in the famous series Cheers, there was the one actor that Sam dates, the blonde-haired lady, and she is from the area, but she's alive and doing well, so I couldn't do any of that. But yeah, other than that, I didn't know, other than James Dean, any other actors from the area. Hey there, Savannah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that place. I wasn't really sure what I was going to run into. Like I said, I kind of forgot what it was that I had even marked, and then I got there and had a lot of surprises in terms of the animals, and the rabbit that I found that was kind of seemed to be curious but not too afraid, and then the horses. Yeah, I hoping to really. I don't remember if I think. Oh yeah, I did get the horses on. I have one more that'll be coming out some point in the future. At some point in the future, and that had horses in it too that were very curious about what I was doing, and so looking forward to releasing that as well. But that might be a while before that comes out. Oh, yeah, I'll look into that. I don't know why that wouldn't have gotten sent off. I thought I had sent out everything from last month, so um, it's possible it got lost in the mail. So if that's the case, I'll just resend it. I send things out from a not post office box, but from like a UPS store without any return addresses, obviously for my own security purposes. Not with any one individual person, but just with everybody. So if I accidentally put in the wrong address, or if they lost it in the mail, or some other problem occurred, I would never know. So yeah, I'll look that up and get that out to you again then. My Haunted Diary. I've never heard of that. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, I apologize if anytime. I always try to send stuff out immediately as soon as the charges go out to the Patreon. So yeah, I don't know why that wouldn't have showed up. Yeah, but if you can, just shoot me an email, and maybe, or direct message me over on Patreon. Um, I usually check my email a couple times a day. So unless it's like went into the spam, even the spam folder, I usually try to check just to make sure. So, yeah. Um, other than that, because I obviously I'm sure that your screen name on here is not your full name, so I don't know if you want to release your entire name in the chat here, but otherwise I would look. But cool. Okay, yeah, I'll check on my email then right after the stream's over here, and I'll get back with you. But yeah, I apologize. I don't always know. I always try to correct any mistakes, or sometimes for whatever reason the system doesn't tell me somebody's address, and so I know a few people in the past, not you, but a few people in the past I've tried to get a hold of and say, hey, your email or your address isn't showing up, and I don't know if they don't have notifications turned on for the Patreon or what, and so sometimes I have a hard time getting a hold of people, and obviously sometimes it's just straight up my fault, and I probably overlook things. So, but yeah, for sure I'll get that out to you. What are the letters that I send out? Oh, with I have the Patreon, which is like a it's sort of like having subscribers. Like obviously on YouTube, there's regular subscribers, and then some people are allowed to have members that you pay like a few dollars a month, and you get extras and things. And so it's like that, but it's a completely different site. It's just an artist support system, and so for different tiers, whether it's like I think I have a $1, a $3, and a $10 a month option, and you get different benefits for doing that. Those are the credits that you've seen at the end of the videos. All those names are people who are part of the Patreons, and then, like I said, different tiers get different benefits, which I'm also trying to improve all the time. An abandoned children's home. That would be interesting. I strictly do things with most of the things that I have done have been with permission, but I don't do anything without permission. So if I can find an owner to the place, then for sure. But anymore, even if places don't have signs that say no trespassing, I've known a few people that have gotten screwed over fairly recently going into places that don't necessarily have any signage. So there's some inherent risk in doing abandoned locations anymore. And so I try to be pretty picky and choosy with different places. So like I said, if I can find somebody that would be willing to let me in and maybe talk a little bit about the history of it, then for sure. Okay, yeah. I remember that name. Yeah, I thought I did send that out. Maybe I wrote the address down wrong and it just never got back to me. Huh. Yeah, I'll look into that. I apologize. So I remember I know I put I'm 100% positive I put your name on the in the credits. Okay, yeah, because I put your name in the credits, so it should have went out in the mail already. So yeah, my apologies if it never got there. Yeah, I swear I remember writing the letter and the address and everything, and I believe I sent those out. I can't remember how long ago it was, but anyway, at any rate, I'll get that corrected though. Waverly Hills. The problem with Waverly Hills is they claim that they're going to let you film there, but then when you get there, they say that it's only for wow, I can't speak tonight. It's only for personal uses. I remember Rob and Joe were talking to me about Waverly Hills because Omar Gosh had tried to go there. I think he ended up finally getting the video up, but he had to argue with them for a long time, and they also charge a lot of money. They charge you about $1,000 to spend if you want a private self-guided tour for the entire night. It costs about $1,000. I tell you what, I will email you the address that I have on Patreon, and if you want to confirm that that's correct. Otherwise, or if you want to email me your address, I mean, I'll just send it to there. But yeah, I'll check it out and verify. But yeah, I would love to do Waverly Hills. There's so much history there and so many rumors there, and I mean, it's a huge place. Yeah, and yeah, like I said, I mean, Omar went there and they gave him a real hard time. Like, and he took the time to argue with them, and he had I believe he had already paid when he had went there, and he pretty much got there, and they're like, okay, that's fine, but you can't put anything on YouTube, and he's like, that's the whole point of me being here is to put it on YouTube. Like, that's why I paid $1,000 to be here, is so that I could actually put up this video on YouTube and explore this place and see what I can hear, see what I can see what I can document. And they were like, well, it's for personal uses only. And it's like, well, what's the point of the $1,000 if you're going to go in there and just, I mean, obviously maybe there's some people that truly just want to check it out and they're willing to drop that type of cash. But for creators, and especially he knew, I mean, he contacted them from the beginning to tell them. So, yeah. Otherwise, I had mentioned to the guys before they told me about that. I was like, well, we should do Waverly Hills sometime when you come up north. And they're like, well, here's the deal with Waverly Hills. And that's when they told me about Omar. So. Oh, you've been there. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I think you can do. I think there's like cheaper options to just like go in and take a tour or whatever, and you can do guided tours and you can do like daytime tours and stuff. But yeah, I don't know why they sort of discriminate against YouTubers. And I don't want to put anything on them about any other reason. I don't really know what their reasons with Omar was, but I hope it wasn't anything above and beyond that. I think that would be even more shameful. So, yeah, I don't know. They're gonna turn it into a hotel. I guess it'd be awesome as long as they don't update too much of it. I feel like a certain part of it should at least remain original. Like, I think it'd be cool to like have a few rooms there where people could rent it out and check out the place and whatever, but I want it to be somewhat original. There's a really cool place. I think it might be in Ohio. It's like, it's official. Anybody can go there and pay to go in and film it, and they can put it on YouTube and do whatever they want to do with the footage, but it's not fixed up at all. It's still trashy. It's still got paint falling off the walls. And it's a prison. I don't know if I just said that. I kind of blanked there for a second, but yeah, it's a prison in Ohio. I think in Ohio. It's technically abandoned, but it is sort of a touristy spot, but it's not like they fixed up the cells and they didn't put any dummies in there to make it look like there was a person in the jail cell. They didn't do anything to fix it up. They just sort of put a ticket booth at the front of it, and it's like, if you want to pay to get in, you can go and film and do whatever you want, check the place out, see what it used to look like, but we're not putting any amenities up. We're not making it look nice. We're not repainting. We're not fixing anything. It's just an abandoned place that we own, and we'll let you go in. I thought that was kind of cool. The letters are partially handwritten and partially printed, so it's written on an official 539 slash MIstory or mystery letterhead, and obviously there's a certain portion of it that is pre-written. I don't do a whole full page of personal. I don't know how I would, not knowing everybody, but I do put a personal message at the bottom of each one. I do personally hand sign each one and personally hand sign each person's name. So there is a certain aspect of it that is not unique, but then I do add a unique message to every single person. No one gets the same message. No one gets, the same exact thing. So to the extent that it can be personalized, it is personalized. Obviously, not knowing, some of you guys personally as friends, I wouldn't know enough about your lives to like sit and write down a 5-paragraph long letter. But I do my best to make a personalized message to each and every person. There's a couple different Ohio prisons that are abandoned. Some of them are fairly off limits, and then some of them are, like I said, one of them at least is pay to tour. There's also a Waverly. I don't know if you're talking about the Ohio location or the Waverly Hills, but Waverly Hills has had a few movies filmed at it too. There was one, I actually bought it, and it turned out it's called Death Tunnel. I didn't personally care for the movie that much, but not because it was like a well, I don't really remember it as much as I'll have to go back and watch it again. I want to say it's called Ohio State Penitentiary, but that might be an active prison, so I don't really know. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I'll have to look it up. I think I have it listed in my map of places. I have a bunch of different places marked off that I need to check off the list, but I haven't made it yet, so I'll have to look and see. But again, I don't really remember the exact name, so my apologies there. Used to be a pizza shop. Wow, that'd be an interesting history for sure. That's quite a diversity of different business types. Well, there's one in I can't pronounce words apparently, in Philadelphia. I feel like Eastern steak could be fairly widely used, though, too. seems like if there's any one name that could be used twice, it might be that one. It's a very odd tradition of turning jails and prisons into pizza places. Ohio State Reformatory, that might be it too. I don't remember a whole lot about it. Jailhouse pizza. That's interesting. I feel like it'd be like the old movies where they had like the birthday cake and then it would have the chisel hidden somewhere inside for you to escape. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure on each individual location of their names. I probably have on the order of 200 or 300 locations marked in various states across the United States. So I don't really remember all of them, at least by name. So I apologize there, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure. A college fraternity. Oh, yeah, I kind of remember it being sort of like that. Yeah, I don't remember the entire premise of the movie. I just remember I felt like the production value on it wasn't that great. I felt like it was kind of a a pretty low level B movie if I remember it. Now it's been probably 6 or 7 years, maybe more. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it. But yeah, I don't know if there's ever been any other movies filmed there, but I haven't seen anything else personally. I'm sure there's been a lot of like mainstream like paranormal series that have gone there. Beauty salon, yeah, that would be an interesting one. I feel like I gotta get a drink. I'm like getting dry mouth and starting to screw up my words. I'm gonna grab something to drink real quick and then I'll be right back. Give me like a couple minutes here. I'm not gonna be long. I'll put you guys to the music real quick and then I'll see you in about 3-4 minutes. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. I had to get something to drink. Believe it or not, these live streams, they're a lot of concentration, from paying attention to all the chats to paying attention to my streaming software and making sure that everything's going correctly. By the end of it, it's like, even if it's a 3 or 4 hour live stream, it feels like you've been working a full 8-hour shift. It's incredibly exhausting, so my apologies. And I probably don't take as many breaks as I actually should, because I always feel bad sort of breaking in the middle and making you guys wait. Oh. Okay. Redheads? Oh, I don't. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, I've never understood the weird stereotypes around the board. And there's some strange ones about redheads. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't really even know where to go from here. I'm not really sure. Trying to think if there's anything that I haven't covered yet that really needs to be said. I know I almost say this almost every time that I come back from a break, but probably because I take breaks at really inopportune times. I should probably take a break a lot sooner and then end the live streams when I end up running out of material to say. Paranormal shows talk about redheads? That's bizarre. Yeah, I've never heard about any, maybe I just don't watch enough paranormal content, but I've never heard about any redheads' souls being trapped. That's interesting. But no, I've got nothing against redheads. Oh, I wouldn't know. Yeah, I haven't watched. I'm trying to think of the last group of TV paranormal hunters. Some of them get cringe where some of them really overact. I feel like they're really just kind of injecting extra drama. Some of these people are just like, they're way too scared that, like at the strangest things. Like, I could understand if you saw a ghost that you'd be really afraid, but if you just hear a sound and you're like screaming like your life's on the line, I feel like you're just injecting extra drama. So, Yeah, I can't remember. There was a weird, not weird, but I don't want to make fun of anybody if you all are fans, but I remember there was a group of these really sort of beefy, muscular dudes, and they would scream like little kids at everything that happened, no matter how big or small it was. It wouldn't have to be something that was actually scary and paranormal. It could just be like, a small sound happened down the hallway, and they're like all running out like they're about to die, and it just, yeah, I don't know. A post number like a veterans, the VA post. Maybe I'm not quite understanding the post number. I think maybe that's what you mean. But yeah, I know what you mean in terms of, yeah, some of the GAR markers are replacements and some of them are originals. Um, but yeah, an interesting organization though, for sure. The Sons of Union Veterans. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. I'll have to look that up too. I don't know. I only know vaguely. Well, I guess I've never really talked to her, but I've there's I can't remember her name now. I'm not gonna even try because I can't remember. But I know one of Robin Joe's friends was on Ghost Hunters International, and I don't really remember that one too much though, because I remember her vaguely, but I only remember seeing any of them briefly. So yeah, and the unfortunate part too, with the TV shows, I will say this: some of it's them, and then some of it's producers. Like you sign a contract, it's sort of like any reality series. When you sign a contract, you sort of sign off production, and so if your producer comes in and says, "Hey, I want you to say this line," you pretty much have to say it, or you violated the contract, and you can get fined. So sometimes it's not their fault necessarily, but it can get kind of fake and cringeworthy because the producers will literally come in and add stuff, just like with any reality series. It's like if you're watching your whatever favorite reality show you have, if you see somebody getting in this almost weird kind of um, arguments or whatever conflicts that they may have with other people, and it just doesn't feel quite right, that's probably when the producer stepped in and said, "Hey, I want you guys to say these lines to each other." And they'll literally give you specific scripted lines to say to each other just to make, I mean, it happens in everything from like Pawn Stars to like, whatever, if anybody watches like Jersey Shore, I don't even know if Jersey Shore or the Kardashians or whatever. I think there's still the Kardashians that are still on their own series, but I don't know about all of them. But a lot of it has stuff that is just injected by producers, and so they don't necessarily have a choice in the matter. But at the same time, I guess they did sign the contract, so they kind of knew what was happening. But some people don't necessarily know what they're getting into, and so it's unfortunate, but yeah, I don't want to put 100% of the blame on the on-air talent or on-screen talent, but yeah, I don't necessarily enjoy it. So that's why you got to be really careful when you actually do sign up for TV contracts. Ghost Adventures. Oh, I've heard of that one. I don't remember seeing a whole lot of it, but I have heard of the Ghost Adventures. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I would love to finally get back into the music. I keep trying. I have been working in the background. But yeah, that's kind of cool. I've had a few people I've been in bands with over the years, but none of them have gone on to make TV shows, so. Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. I mean, I thought for a while that I would maybe turn things into, maybe not necessarily like quitting YouTube, but like getting onto some sort of, not reality series, but like sort of like a travel series, like the Anthony Bourdain type stuff, and being a cameraman. But yeah, I think that'd be really interesting. Yeah, I didn't always have a strong desire to be in front of the camera, and I think I'm at least traditionally better at being behind the camera. It's obviously what I started out with, especially with the rock photography and pretty much my entire photography career. So I've got a lot of respect for people that choose to be behind the camera solely. I think it actually, especially in the modern day with all this social media, I think it's almost harder to make that choice to be behind the camera than to just start, trying to turn yourself into that online or social media personality. So, yeah, I mean, people like that deserve a lot of respect. But yeah, that's sort of the unfortunate part that you run into with the television series is producers often are going to opt for the things that make a series more exciting, despite it not necessarily being accurate or true. And even if they have something to say, or I should say, even if the on-screen talent has something to say about it, they don't always get their way. And because of these very, very strong contracts that they've signed, they don't always have a choice. So they can't just say no. A lot of times that, again, can wind up in either losing your job or being fined for violating your contract. So it's unfortunate that some of the shows are not very accurate, but I would at the end of the day say it's, not to say that there isn't sometimes some blame to be had by the actual team of ghost hunters. I don't really know each individual people at all, so like I said, I've only had not even really contact with any of them, but just brief knowledge of, or insider knowledge of different people that have been connected with the people that I know. But again, it's not always up to them. So how did they end? I didn't know that. I believe they were originally like a plumbing service too. Because I know for a while they claimed that they still did the whatever, I think it was plumbing, something related like that, some sort of in-home services type of industry. And I think for a while, for a few seasons at least, they continued to actually function as that business. But yeah, that's Taps, I think, is the last one I really remember watching. I never got into any of the other series. I had vaguely heard about them getting called out on doing some fake stuff. I would love to actually get the chance to talk to a few of them, just to see if it really was them in general, or if it was perhaps the producers that they had signed with. Yeah, like I said, I didn't watch a whole lot of taps even. Um, I'm pretty picky with my TV at all, so if it was some location that I found incredibly interesting, I would watch it. But I do remember a few things that they at least supposedly had found. It was, I wouldn't say significant in the fact that it was 100% real. I don't really know. But I do remember them capturing some sort of running ghost where the ghost appeared to run straight towards the camera and then immediately turn around and run the other way. And it looked pretty crazy, but yeah, I don't really know the veracity of any of them because I don't know any of them personally. So, I mean, again, with, modern day CGI and, different video editing tools, it is at the very least easier to make things seem real that aren't necessarily 100% real. Yeah, I really don't know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that Ashley Godwin is Robin Joe's friend. Yeah, she was on Ghost Hunters International. But yeah, she does YouTube. Her and her mom go around and travel to different locations now. But I mean, I don't know her personally though. I know that the guys from Urban Ghost Urban Exploration did a few different videos with her, or with them, I mean. But yeah, I don't really know much else. Again, I never really kept up on the series too much. Occasionally, when I found it really interesting, I would watch the different series, whether it was Taps or Ghost Hunters or whatever. I don't know that I ever saw any Ashley Godwin episodes. But yeah, that's kind of the problem you run into when you do the television stuff. Either you've got to very strongly stipulate that there will be no added production or that you're going to do your own producing, which again can end up losing you the contract, or just continue to do stuff independently. That's the sad part of any reality series at all. Even things like Pawn Stars, half of it is scripted, you know. And that's, I mean, a lot of it you can tell, when people come in with like a piece of history that's worth $200,000, no one's going to bring that to a pawn shop. That's something that they would bring to an auction and sell for a lot of money. No one would pawn it. Pawn shops don't really specialize in collector's grade items. Anything above probably a few $1,000s, is something that would go to a art auction or a collector's auction, something like that. So a lot of it's just scripted, and people are brought in and just asked to be on the TV show, and then they're given scripts to read while they're talking to the people. And that's not really from personal knowledge. It's just, well, personal knowledge just in general of collection and auctions. Obviously, I don't have any insider information on the show in general, but when somebody brings in, like I said, collector's items to a pawn shop, generally it's going to be fake. Not necessarily fake items, but again, no real pawn shop is going to shell out $100,000 for like a historical collector item. That's something that goes to a museum or, again, like an art auction or collector's auctions. So a lot of the reality series are just, especially on TV, are just unfortunately scripted. I don't think I saw any of the Gettysburg episodes. I've been to Gettysburg, but I've never seen any of the ghost hunting episodes there. I know the rumors in terms of the battlefield and different locations are supposed to be haunted and whatnot, and I don't know the veracity of those comments, but yeah, I've never really seen any of the ghost hunting shows that from that location. Yeah, I don't know. I drove by when I was in Vegas, but I did not actually get the chance to go in. It was closed. I think it was closed, not permanently, but like I think they were doing some sort of renovations while I was there, so it wasn't open during the day or night. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. But I've been in enough pawn shops in my life to know that they don't buy museum quality items, nor would anybody with that high quality of a collector's items probably be in desperate need of money or would even think of going to a pawn shop to sell it. They'd probably just, again, put it up at auction. If there's one successful thing that you can do with collector's items is put them through auction. If anything, they're bound to probably get more money than they're worth, especially with art. Often art is highly overinflated in the amount of money that they bring at auction for whatever reasons. I mean, you guys can look that up on your own. There's a lot of weird things associated with art auctions, I'll say. And so there would be no need. There's plenty of collectors out there that would love to either purchase items outright or bid on them at an auction. And a lot of them have enough money to do so. I've been to plenty of car auctions. Same thing. If you own the Batmobile, you're not going to take the Batmobile to a pawn shop. You're going to sell it at a car auction. And you're going to get a lot more money than you would get from selling it at a pawn shop. And so the thought that someone would bring in, I think somebody brought in like a famous weapon from like outlaws from like the Wild West once, and I thought to myself, you'd probably get $1 million for something like that, selling it to a museum or selling it at auction or selling it to a collector. Why would you ever accept a quarter of that price to sell it to a pawn shop who would then resell it to somebody else who was a collector or a museum or an auction? It makes no sense. You're inventing a middleman to, for no reason. I mean, again, with the Gettysburg, it's like, maybe it is, it could be both. I think the unfortunate part with productions is that, you go out to some place and you spend a lot of money to go there, and sometimes you find nothing, I run into the same issue myself. I go out on the road sometimes, and sometimes I just don't find anything. As for me, and being a YouTuber, I just don't put anything out, and I accept the loss. But then again, there's TV shows out there who will not accept the loss, and then they just put in something that's fake. So it's, again, just sort of that unfortunate part of corporatized big box TV operations, That's television, and that's Hollywood. It's sort of like we've talked about in the past here about like your documentaries, like your Bigfoot documentaries, UFO documentaries, ancient Egypt documentaries. A lot of them claim that they're going to make these shows where they uncover this evidence that no one's ever seen before, and they're going to go out and they're going to finally crack the case on these mysteries, whether historical or paranormal or cryptozoology, whatever it may be. And almost exclusively, almost 100% of the time, by the end of the show, it's always wrapped up the same way, which is, well, we may never know, but we'll continue to search. And so it's like you watched an entire show about absolutely nothing. And that's pretty much the format of most series, including like a lot of treasure hunting series. I've watched a few of those recently where it's like, okay, we're going to go out here and we're going to finally crack the case on this ancient treasure that's been buried beneath this island for, hundreds of years. And do they find it? Well, of course they don't find it, but they decided to spend millions of dollars making the show, and they got to put out something. So they put out something which is pretty much absolutely nothing. And it's just one of those things. So it's the unfortunate part of reality TV, whether it's supposed to be, a series like Survivor, where it's sort of a challenge series, a competition, or whether it's, a ghost hunting series or a treasure hunting series. There's just this certain aspect of it that's either fake or nothing actually really happens, Bam lives in Pennsylvania. Bam Margera. He's an interesting character. Yeah. I mean, any type of documentary series, especially when you're trying to find things which aren't necessarily easy to find, it's hard. And the sad reality with TV shows in general is that, when they've signed on to do a series, they're going to complete that series no matter what, even if they're putting out absolutely nothing. And they'll just continue to put more and more of a spin on it, and until hopefully most of the audience doesn't realize that they're watching nothing for the entire time. And some of them are really interesting stories, like the treasure hunting. It's like, the history behind it, the story behind it. You can make a really interesting documentary about it, but at the same time, it's like they decide to make this show where they're gonna crack the case, and they just never crack the case. But it's like, what did you watch the entire series for? You were expecting them to find something by the end of the 10 episode series, and they found nothing, but they were sure proud of it. And it's like, as an individual, as a treasure hunter, I'd probably be proud of my hard work that I did. But as a TV producer, I would be personally not too enthused to put out a product where nothing happens the entire time. And I would at least want to find a way to make it a legit product before I put it out on the market, Again, it's not to demean the actual people that are doing the work, that are trying to accomplish something, but rather this strange format of series where nothing ends up happening, but, it's supposedly the most exciting series yet, It's just, the same thing with the pyramids. I respect all these people that are going out there trying to uncover new information about ancient Egypt and about all these amazing things that they built, and history in general. It's great, but when the entire series is about discovering this crazy new secret that's locked behind this vault that they've never opened before, and at the end of it they're not even able to get into the place that is, excuse me, I'm Maybe I should have gotten water. But yeah, I remember watching a whole series, and it was all about getting into this one sealed room that they'd never been into before. And they had like this little rover, and had a drill on it, and they drilled, and at the end of it, they just got to another. They found out that there wasn't just one seal; there was two seals. But instead of drilling through the second seal, they just left the series off there, and it was like at the end of it, this entire 2.5 hour long series, they did nothing at all. They ended up showing you a rock on the other end of the rock, and it was just completely useless. And it's like, I have all this respect for these Egyptologists that do this for a living and are trying to discover the history of their own country and their own people, and it's incredibly fascinating work that they do, but the series itself was just completely useless. Oh yeah, I love skaters. Skaters are cool. Yeah, the back in the day, I forget what the exact, I think it was the Secret Underground skate tour actually came through this area. I unfortunately missed it, but Bam and Tony Hawk were here. So, yeah, those are the perils of television in Hollywood. And I think it's the unfortunate part with Hollywood, too, is that a lot of times, these movies that end up being sort of what a lot of people would consider bad movies ended up coming from really good scripts. And then a lot of times executives and different people, producers and things that didn't actually write these amazing scripts end up altering and editing things to the point where, a really amazing script becomes a really terrible movie. And so, I've heard too many horror stories where people have made these incredible works of art, and then by the end of it, they don't even like what ends up getting made. In a great series, if anybody's ever seen Californication, a lot of Californication is specifically about that, and the character Frank Moody writes these really great works of art, and when they get made into movies, they're just sort of these bastardized versions of what he intended it to be, and ends up being this, typical Hollywood happy-go-lucky feel-good story that it never was supposed to be. And that's the unfortunate part of doing highly corporatized work, is that it's very rare to take your exact dream and deliver it to somebody and then have them create that dream from, beginning to end, and it actually be the same by the time it makes it to the television screen or the movie screen. It's very rare that actually happens. And even in small TV shows, I remember seeing an interview with the creator of Family Guy, and he said a lot of times he would have an episode completely done, the script completely created, and Fox would come to him and say, well, we need you to have some sort of message at the end of the TV show. So if you ever saw those cringeworthy sort of half funny, half cringe endings on Family Guy, where it was like they sort of had this wrap up message, this feel good message about how to live your life and how to and this what we learned from the episode, that was done on purpose to sort of make a comedic way of following the direction of the corporate executives that had ultimate control of the episodes coming out, but at the same time sort of making fun of that process of, everything has to come to some feel good conclusion. Everything has to have some sort of feel good message to teach people how to live their lives, and he sort of tried to fight back at that by making it incredibly cringeworthy and sort of blatantly obvious. And so a lot of those where they're kind of sitting on the couch at the end of the episode and they're sort of awkwardly talking about the message of the overlying message of the entire episode was just sort of his way of making fun of that process. A forced extrovert. Actually, the person that I used to work with, that you guys used to see on the channel, Adam, he met Bam Margera when he came through the area. I remember when I used to go to his apartment, he had a picture of him and Bam. Whew. All right. How long have we been going? Wow, we just passed the 3-hour mark. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I am going to try and do another live stream tomorrow and pick up on the podcast and talk some more alternative culture and things like that. Like I said, we're going to go into the reasoning behind different alt cultures. Not the reasoning behind the cultures, but the reason that people decide to live these type of lifestyles and decide to do the things that they do, and some of the reasons that I got into that area. Kind of goes well with what some of you guys are talking about. Skating is definitely a strong, prevalent type of alternative culture. Skate culture, surf culture, rock and roll culture, they all kind of mesh very well together, and I would like to talk to some people in all those different areas and get some opinions from them in some of the upcoming podcast and do some real interviews and have some guests on and do things like that. I think it'd be a real fun thing to talk about, and I think skate culture has had a lot of great influence and a lot of amazing people that have come out and into the mainstream and really made a career out of alternative culture and doing what they love. And so I think it'd be a great input for the podcast. And obviously I don't want to just make it about rock and roll, just make it about tattoos or piercings or body modification or whatever, but also to include all kinds of different people and all kinds of people that live these different types of, like I said, alternative cultures. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining me here tonight. Appreciate y'all being here. Say good night and hopefully see you all tomorrow. So thank you, Pam. Thank you, Jade, Emmy, Juanita, Matthew. And let me scroll up, see if I'm missing anybody else that's still here. Savannah. I don't know who was all here and not chatting, but anybody that's here and still watching, many thanks for being here. And again, probably be doing it again tomorrow. I don't know exactly what time, but we'll try and shoot for like maybe 6 or 7 Eastern Standard Time. So, hey there, Lynn. Thanks again for joining us. Trish, glad to have you. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, I will try to the best of my ability. Manya, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Shauna, thanks for joining us. I will try and do a scheduled stream for tomorrow, so I will try and put it up ahead of time so that you guys know. I had a little bit of issues with it rescheduling my stream last time. Yeah, Jade, thank you. I still don't know how to pronounce your name. JEH0089. Many thanks. But yeah, I will try and do a scheduled stream. Hopefully I don't screw it up this time and say the wrong time. The last time I tried to do a scheduled stream and it tried to schedule my stream immediately, so apologies on that one. I'll try to get it right tomorrow night. Again, I don't really know what happened last time, but be looking for the scheduled stream. It should pop up in either your notifications or in your subscriptions area of the YouTube app or the webpage, and should show up a few hours ahead of time to let you guys know exactly what time it'll be coming. So be on the lookout for that. If not, I will try and put it up on Instagram again and let you guys know ahead of time. I'll try and forward that over onto YouTube, or not YouTube, but Twitter and Facebook as well. So if you guys are on any of those pages, you should get an advanced warning tomorrow before we go live. But yeah, many thanks, everybody. Glad you all can make it and interact and have a conversation tonight. And sorry again about all the delays. Again, just some weird issues with YouTube again. Pretty much site-wide with all these account bans that were happening. So just sort of one of those things that we had to deal with and wait to get it corrected. So, but from here on out, we should be doing things on a fairly regular basis. Hopefully, doing several streams now a week, and maybe even doing some stuff on different platforms again. So, many thanks, and I will see all of you guys tomorrow. Night, everybody. Night, Jake.